Hey, this is Mark watching MTC Media with our keys to victory for Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford fights on September 13th on Netflix. Canelo comes in with a record of 63-2-2 with 39 KOs, while Terence Crawford comes in 41-0 with 31 KOs. So my keys to victory for Canelo, with there being no rehydration clause, he will definitely be the stronger, bigger man. I don't think that's going to shock anyone. How big he'll come in is anyone's guess, but you best believe it's big. What I expect for him to do early on is to be patient and really try to work Crawford's body. I do think he wants to put some of that investment in to slow Crawford down during the middle and the late rounds. And in order to do that, he knows those first 3 roundish to try to manipulate and get into positions to go downstairs to Crawford's body. So expect for him to be patient. Canelo is not always the best at cutting off the ring. Early on, he might let Crawford keep that movement if he can get to the body enough. Because I think his thing is, as well as the fight goes on, I'll cut off the ring better because he'll be slowing down. We've seen Canelo do that in the past also. So even though he feels comfortable in the middle of the ring, it's obvious that Canelo, once this gets to the middle rounds, late rounds, that he wants this fight to be more on his terms and more in the box. I'm not saying he wants it to be, some sort of slugfest, but he certainly wants there to be less real estate for Crawford. So even though Canelo is good in the middle of the ring, we all know this, as the fight goes on, see how much of the real estate he takes away from Crawford, whether it's being behind the jab, whether it's how he's cutting off the ring. He wants to drive him back into small spaces. And Canelo, the one thing about Canelo you don't have to worry about, and I think this was the undoing of Marvin Hagler. When Marvin Hagler fought Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler had convinced himself that he had to win in a certain way. If there's one thing that you notice about Canelo, Canelo has never felt pressure to win in a certain way. It's Mayweather-esque. The only time that Mayweather, after the hand injury, I'm not talking about before the hand injury, the only time Mayweather really fought a fight to win in a more physical posture was when he fought Miguel Cotto. Because Mayweather could have won that fight much easier than what he did. But that was one of the fights, it was like he wanted to win in a certain way. Canelo doesn't feel like he needs to win in a certain way. So don't expect for Canelo to kind of press it and make that same mistake that Marvin Hagler made against Sugar Ray. Because frankly, whether you think Hagler won the fight or not, if Hagler just fights the fight and not fight a fight to win in a certain way because he was so frustrated with Sugar Ray, he probably wins that fight easily. Keys for Crawford. Crawford knows that Canelo will be huge, so probably knocking him out or hurting him is probably not going to happen. At this point, I really do think that even if Crawford hits Canelo with some of the shots he hit Errol Spence with, I don't know how much that's going to hurt Canelo. What he needs to do is his power punches need to, at the very least, move Canelo back and dictate where Canelo is in the ring. That's where those power punches are going to mean something to Terence Crawford. It's not going to be, I'm going to chop him down and knock him out. I think we all know that that's not going to happen. At least for me, I can tell you I would be very, very shocked if Crawford truly hurts Canelo. Might stun him here and there, but truly hurts Canelo in the fight, I'd be very, very surprised. So those power punches needs to be things that move, things that shows ring generalship, things that show that you're in control, that you're moving them back, you're putting them in certain spots to your advantage. That's where those power punches need to be for Terence Crawford. We all know that Crawford is beautiful with the counterpunching, right? Beautiful. But what he can't do in these close rounds is be so inactive that judges say, it's kind of a 50-50 round. Neither one of the fighters did anything. Because what history will show is those rounds are going to go to Canelo. They are. Because again, the judges don't feel like Canelo has to win in a certain way. So Crawford needs to be cognizant, especially early on in the fight, to grab those early rounds. It is more important for Crawford to fight from ahead than it is for Canelo. It is. So those early rounds and those non-active rounds, Crawford needs to be the ones taking control. Now, I am a firm believer that Crawford will be able to get into his counter-punching bag as the fight gets on. Because, as I said about Canelo likes to ramp up into a fight. He tries to fancy himself as what they used to say about Mayweather, that he's downloading data. But the truth of the matter is, you'll see Canelo generally get more aggressive, and he'll open up a little more. And you saw a fighter like Dimitri Bivol take advantage of that. Take firm advantage of that. And that's what Crawford needs to do. As Canelo starts feeling more comfortable that he has in his head that he knows what Crawford wants to do and where he wants to do it, Canelo will become the aggressor a little bit more. And that's where Crawford and his counterpunching and get out. Counterpunching and get out. Crawford needs to win the fight here. Just as much as with these, he needs to win the fight here. And he needs to set up Canelo. And as I said earlier, for Terence Crawford to win this, he has to borrow inspiration from a couple of fighters. Floyd Mayweather, when he defeated Canelo, it was beautiful. He dominated the moments when he engaged on his terms. That's why Floyd won that fight. He dominated the moments where he engaged on his terms. That's going to have to be the same thing with Terence Crawford. Crawford needs to dominate the moments where he chooses to engage on his terms. Okay? And the second one, and I brought it up earlier, is Sugar Ray Leonard's upset of Marvin Hagler. He can steal some of those things. Now, I'm not going to say the whole still the 30 seconds thing, which was, I'm not going to get into that fight, which was something that Sugar Ray did, especially early on and in the mid parts of that fight. But it's to give the judges the impression that this fight is being fought on your terms. And that's what Terence needs to do. He needs to make the fight being fought on his terms. Prediction? It's hard seeing Crawford. I've run this thing in my mind a million times. The only way Crawford can win is by decision. And then it's hard to see Crawford win by decision, right? It's both of those things. Can a guy, as small as he is, win a decision with Canelo, especially if Canelo's punches seem to dictate things more than Crawford's punches? But to me, I feel like it's also hard to pick against Crawford because Crawford does have an avenue to win. And if you follow me, you know, usually, unless you're dominant in the area, in a particular area, like historically dominant, like Floyd was historically dominant in one or two areas, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to take the fighter who has the most avenues to win. Canelo has the most avenues to win. But I'm going to hit you with the Lee Corso. Not so fast, my friend. I'm going with Terence Crawford by split decision. It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media.